My life is a total dumpster fire, and it's all because of her. It's funny, because if you asked me a year ago, I would have told you I had it all. A great husband, a nice house, and a comfortable life. I'm Brianna. I'm 31. Ian and I'm a mess. It started with a casual DM. A simple message to a random woman. Just a little harmless fun. Or so I thought. This woman, who I'll call Chloe, was a total joke. Her profile was full of cheesy, inspirational quotes and pictures of her and her husband, who was basically a walking billboard for suburban mediocrity. He was one of those guys who post pictures of himself grilling hot dogs and talking about the grind. I'd seen him around town and he always gave off this smugger, I have it all together vibe that just rubbed me the wrong way. Chloe's husband, Ethan, was a total bore. He was a reformed problem type. He had some kind of past, some bad boy phase he was always talking about. And now he was trying to be this perfect husband, this perfect family man. It was nauseating. Chloe, on the other hand, was an emotional control type. She'd cry and get all pouty whenever he'd bring up her spending habits or how she'd disappear for hours to go shopping. She'd say, "You're being dramatic," or "It's not that serious." But I knew better. I saw right through her. I'd been scrolling through her page one day, just passing the time, when I saw something that caught my attention. She'd posted a picture of herself with a group of friends, and in the background, I saw my husband, David. He was standing next to her, and they were laughing. It was a fleeting moment, just a tiny little detail, but my mind immediately started to spin. Was he cheating on me? No, he couldn't be. He was a good guy, a growth-oriented type. He was always talking about therapy and boundaries, and trying to be a better person, but still, the image was there, and it festered. I started to dig, to look for more. I went through all her photos, all her tagged posts, and I found nothing else. But the seed of doubt had been planted, and I couldn't let it go. So I took a screenshot of that one picture, and I cropped it, so it just showed David and Chloe. I messaged her, a simple, "Hey, is this your husband?" I knew it was a cheap shot, but I didn't care. I just wanted to see what would happen. She responded almost immediately, "Yes, that's him." "What's up?" she said. I could almost hear the excitement in her voice, the thrill of a new message from a stranger. I told her I was friends with David, that we used to work together, and I wanted to know if they were a couple. I was a terrible liar, but she bought it hook, line, and sinker. I told her I'd seen them together, and they looked so happy. She was eating it up. She started to tell me all about their life, their house, their son. It was all a little too perfect. I kept talking to her, and I started to get a sense of her. She was a total insecure weaponizer. She'd talk about how she used to be so insecure, and how Ethan was so good to her, and how he made her feel so safe. But I could see the cracks. She'd complain about his long work hours, his need to go to the gym every day, and how he never seemed to have enough time for her. She'd say, "He's being dramatic," or "It's not that serious." I knew she was just trying to get a rise out of me, to make me feel sorry for her, but it just made me resent her more. One day, she sent me a picture of them at a restaurant. They were sitting at a table, and in the background, I saw David again. He was sitting at a different table, but he was looking right at them. He was a good guy, a growth-oriented type. He was always talking about therapy and boundaries, and trying to be a better person. But still, the image was there, and it festered. I decided to take it up a notch. I went through some old screenshots I had on my phone. They were from a while back, from a time when David and I were still dating. We were at a party, and I'd taken a bunch of pictures of him with his friends. In one of them, he was talking to a woman who I'd never met before. She was laughing, and he was smiling. I cropped the picture, and I sent it to Chloe. I said, "Hey, I saw this on my friend's Instagram. I think it's your husband." I knew it was a cheap shot, but I didn't care. I just wanted to see what would happen. She responded almost immediately. "That's not him. That's my husband's friend." "Oh, Mark," she said. I was a little disappointed, but I wasn't going to give up. I started to look for more. I went through all my old pictures, all my old screenshots, and I found a few more. I sent them to her, one by one, each one a little more damning than the last. She was getting more and more panicked, and I was loving it. One day, I got a message from her that I wasn't expecting. "I know what you're doing," she said. "I know you're trying to break us up." My heart started to pound in my chest. How did she know? I hadn't given her any information about myself. I hadn't even told her my name. I don't know what you're talking about, I said, trying to sound as casual as possible. Yes, you do, she said. I hired a PI. He found out you've been using my old screenshots to try and break us up. My blood ran cold. A PI? She couldn't be serious. What are you talking about? I said, trying to sound as innocent as possible. He found out everything, she said. He found out who you are, where you live, and what you've been doing. I stopped responding to her messages after that. I was terrified. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't tell David. He would be furious. He was a growth-oriented type, and he would see my behavior as a complete betrayal of everything we had built together. He would see it as a sign that I was a toxic person.
And he would leave me.
I tried to pretend like everything was normal. I went to work. I came home. I cooked dinner, and I watched TV, but I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching me. I would see a car parked on my street, and I would think it was the PI. I would hear a noise outside, and I would think it was him coming to get me. I was a nervous wreck. One day, I came home from work, and David was sitting on the couch. He looked different. He was a growth-oriented type, and he was always so calm and collected. But today, he looked like he had been run over by a truck. He didn't say anything. He just looked at me. What's wrong? I said, my voice shaking. I know what you did, he said, his voice flat. I felt a pit in my stomach. I don't know what you're talking about, I said, trying to sound as innocent as possible. Don't lie to me. Brianna, he said. I know you've been sending fake screenshots to a woman to try and break up her family. I felt my heart drop to my stomach. How did you know? I said, my voice barely a whisper. The PI called me, he said. He told me everything. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. I was a monster. I had been caught. I can't believe you would do this, he said. I can't believe you would try and destroy a family just because you were bored, or because you were jealous, or for whatever twisted reason you had. I tried to apologize. I tried to explain myself, but he wasn't listening. He just looked at me, and I saw the disappointment in his eyes. It was a look I had never seen before, and it was a look that I would never forget. He left that night. He didn't pack a suitcase or a duffel bag. He just walked out the door, and he didn't come back. I tried to call him, to text him, to get him to talk to me, but he wouldn't. He just disappeared. I was alone, and I deserved it. The next few months were a blur. I lost my job. I lost my house, and I lost all my friends. I tried to reach out to them, to explain what had happened, but they didn't want to hear it. They saw me as a toxic person, a person who would try to destroy a family just for fun. They saw me as a monster, and they were right. I was living in a small apartment in a bad part of town. I was working at a coffee shop, and I was barely making enough to get by. I was a shell of a person, and I had no one to blame but myself. One day, I was scrolling through my phone, and I saw a picture of Chloe and Ethan. They were standing in front of a beautiful house, a house that looked exactly like the one I had lost. They were smiling, and they looked so happy. I felt a pang of jealousy, a pang of anger, and a pang of regret. I saw a picture of David, too. He was standing next to a woman I didn't recognize. She was beautiful, and she was smiling. He was smiling, too. He looked happy. He looked like he had found someone who was a better person than me, someone who wouldn't try to destroy a family just for fun. I saw another picture of David and the woman. They were at a wedding. They were standing at the altar, and they were getting married. I felt a lump in my throat, a lump of jealousy, a lump of anger, and a lump of regret. I saw a picture of Chloe and Ethan, and then they were holding a baby. They looked so happy. They looked like they had it all. They had a beautiful house, a beautiful family, and a beautiful life. I felt a pang of jealousy, a pang of anger, and a pang of regret. I saw a picture of David and the woman. They were on a boat, and they were sailing away. They were smiling, and they looked so happy. They looked like they had it all. They had a beautiful house, a beautiful family, and a beautiful life. I felt a pang of jealousy, a pang of anger, and a pang of regret. And then I saw it. A news article. It was about Chloe and Ethan. It said that they had been in a car accident. They were both gone. The article said that the PI had been following them, and he had caused the accident. He had been so obsessed with trying to get them to talk to him, to get them to hire him, that he had caused the accident. He had been so obsessed with trying to get them to hire him that he had caused the accident. I felt a pang of guilt, a pang of shame, and a pang of regret. I had caused their deaths. I had been so obsessed with trying to break them up that I had caused their deaths. I had been so obsessed with trying to break them up that I had caused their deaths. I saw a picture of their son. He was a little boy, and he was smiling. He was an orphan now. He had no one. He had no one because of me. I saw a picture of David and the woman. They were on a boat, and they were sailing away. They were smiling, and they looked so happy. They looked like they had it all. They had a beautiful house, a beautiful family, and a beautiful life. I felt a pang of jealousy, a pang of anger, and a pang of regret. I saw a picture of me. I was sitting on a bench, alone. I was a shell of a person, and I had no one. I had no one because of me. I was alone, and I deserved it.